Alright, we got another SPL review thing. So, this time my opponent is Mikmer, a very good advanced player who is known for using everything from solid standard stuff to extreme counter teams. And I hate playing people who use extreme counter team silliness, especially in a best of one format. In best of three, it's a lot more palatable, and I'll save my rants for how much of an embarrassingly bad joke best of one is in a competitive scene. But yeah, it's real bad. So I wound up going through a bunch of teams this week, like I do every week without even trying. But this one I both loved and hated, like everything I was making, because I was like, oh, counter team stupid nonsense. Who knows what stupid stuff is going to come in. So then the day of, I was talking with my buddy Jirachi, both loving and hating everything I had made, and I was thinking about using Hariyama because I love Hariyama. If you go back and watch my SPL review from 2020, the first game I use a Hariyama, and it carries me because it's amazing. And I was trying to use Snorlax again just because it would be very unexpected of me, and what better way to throw off a hardcore counter-teamer than using stuff I normally wouldn't. That's not necessarily good logic, by the way, and I want to make a video about like preparation in tournaments and why it's not that simple to just go, well, I'll use something unexpected, because then you use something unexpected, but if it's bad, then who cares? So, I wound up using something more in my comfort zone this week. Not ideal, but I basically took this team I had, which was good again. I was satisfied with it in most ways, except for the fact that it like struggled against Swampert of all things. In my effort to make a physical offense team that didn't, lose to like everything, and then I decided, okay, I've had enough of this. This Snorlax nonsense. I'm using Celebi over it because I love Celebi because it's amazing, and Leech 3 attack Celebi is a ferocious set. I've been a fan of Leech 3 attack Celebi for a long time. I think I even posted about it on the forums a couple years ago. But it has really taken off in recent times, and it is excellent. So we threw this thing together based on this team I had, where I think I took off the Magneton and put Hariyama there because Hariyama is good and Magneton sucks. And then I took off the Snorlax and put Celebi on. We were messing around with the sets. And my regret was having done this last minute, not because I was lazy, but because I was building teams and throwing them all out all week. So the lesson there is build your teams at the last second because you're going to hate everything beforehand anyway. That's not the good lesson. I'm joking and oversimplifying. But yeah, if I were to do this again, if I were to use this again, I would definitely have kept Wish on Salamence over HP Grass, which would have been a great help this game. And I had Wish, and I really regret taking it off, but I have to take responsibility for it. But yes, ordinarily Wish is just like perfect here. I love this kind of team and have for years because Wish Mence is just so good on it. And then I was like, oh, I don't need Wish, and HP Grass is good. Yeah, it was very silly. But the team is still solid. So it's Mence, Agility, Rock Slide, Metagross, which is a ferocious cleanup Pokemon, Hariyama, offensive Claydol. It's Jolly to help out with things like offensive Suicune. Leech 3 attack Celebi, Pursuit Tar. I think that's 6. I'm just rattling. Yeah, Mence, Meta, Tar, Celebi, Yama. Yep. Okay. So leading off with all that jazz again because it won the last game. So sure. And I face off with the Zapdos. I'm not going to risk anything, so I just go right to Celebi. Most of them are not HP Ice, but even if it's HP Ice, I can deal with that. Unless it crits on the first turn, which it does. And did I skip turn? No, I clicked pause too quickly. But yeah, it crits on the first turn, and that's unfortunate, to say the least. Because I can deal with HP Ice, but it critting is not fun. And I see from the damage, it's not an offensive Zapdos, so it's a bulky HP Ice Zapdos. So I'm instantly thinking, okay, this is some form of either like Claydol balance or some Scarm stuff. And with those kinds of teams don't generally run HP Ice Zapdos. I guess he wanted to stay in on like the CB Mence leads I love or something. But yeah. that is not what this is. So I gotta get out of there and go to T-Tar, which I don't love as a Zapdos answer, but I am not in a good spot. Because Celebi, now that Sand is up, because my other Zapdos answers are not really Zapdos answers in that vein. Early game, you gotta deal against HPI Zapdos. You gotta take it on with Celebi and T-Tar, and then you start damaging it. And then it's much easier to take on over the course of the game, especially once Metagross takes over the late game. And since Salamence is going to lure it in and chip it quite nicely. But the crit makes that a lot harder to deal with. So that marks the second week in a row that the first turn Zapdos has been in that it just... oh wait, no, last week it didn't crit immediately. But it crit the answer to it that switched in right away. So Zapdos doesn't take much from HP Ice, and since it's going to be bulky, I don't want to pursuit it. I want to try and catch Swampert on the switch. But this was foolish of me. I should have Fire Blasted. Because Skarmory is a lot safer of an immediate switch, and especially because if he goes to Swampert and you Fire Blast, he's not threatening spikes. And if you Fire Blast Skarm on the switch, that's... you're not dealing with spikes, whereas if you Fire Blast Pert on the switch, then, you know, it's going to be a lot less eager about getting HP Grassed, whereas if you HP Grass Skarm on the switch, then it'll still feel comfortable staying in for a layer of spikes than protecting than switching out. So you would much rather Fire Blast Skarm on the switch than whatchamacallit, than HP... You'd much rather Fire Blast Skarm on the Switch than HP Grass Pert on the Switch. I mean, okay, if you HP Grass Pert on the Switch, fine, but Skarm scouts out the intentions of T-Tar much better, and when Skarm hits the field, that's a lot more impactful than Pert hitting the field, so you want to play towards that. So, yeah. I also think I had it in my head that, you know, there might not be a Skarm there, so I might as well aim for, like, the Claydol or the Suicune that might come in if it's some sort of balance, but Fire Blast was better because those are not as impactful, again, as Skarm. So I stay in here and just Fire Blast just to chunk it real good. It's max special attack, so it's going to do a lot of damage. And now he protects. I clicked over that. And I just want to see what he's got in store. He doesn't know if I'm mixed or... Well, no, he knows I'm lefties, but I guess he doesn't know for sure that I don't have Ice Beam. And I'm starting to think, alright, this also might be some sort of Superman stuff. So a lot of stuff that ignores spikes, and that means Flygon, and that means really a great matchup late game for a Gilligros. If Flygon is the physical wall, because it doesn't resist Meteor Mash, so I just got to take Skarm out of the picture. So Zapdos comes in. I gotta damage it somehow. I have Claydol, which can switch in and pivot and spin, but I want to damage it first because I don't need Tar at like exactly full health if he's got something bulky. So I'm just gonna stay in Crunch. T-Bolt chunks me. He's just feeling out my moveset, and now he knows I'm full special Tar, and I don't threaten the Blissey with a Brick Break almost surely because I'm gonna have Pursuit last. So he's gonna get out of there, and Blissey comes in. Now, go right to Hariyama, no question about it. Take nothing. God, I love Hariyama. It's so good. I'm going to make a video about how amazing Hariyama is. I wanted to spam Hariyama so much this season, you have no idea. It just pulls so many teams together. It's absolutely incredible. So, and now I have the world's freest knockoff. And I knock off, not Skarmory, but Gengar. I would have been fine with knocking off Skarmory because that is basically dead. But knocking off Gengar is even better because this means that my T-Tar will have an even easier time pursuit trapping it. So, because like specially defensive Gengar can potentially go one-on-one against Pursuit Tar, but it's not going to without lefties. Because even if it beats Tar one-on-one, then it's just going to be ruined anyway. So it gets the burn off, and there's no way. I was thinking about pursuing, but only for a second, because I was like, there's no way this Gengar just switches out and gets pursued. It's going to try and stay in and win the one-on-one. And if it does switch out, then, you know, fine. But getting rid of Gengar will make Claydol's job even easier, especially since whenever I have a Pursuit Tar on a team with Claydol, then I like to throw in a different Claydol move to try and get some more utility out of it, because Psychic is, like, nice, but not, like, super necessary. So I usually go with Rock Slide to help with Zapdos, Would have been nice on this team, huh? But on this team, I was a little paranoid of Celebi, so I threw on HP Bug, which also hits other Claydolls. But I like HP Bug Claydol. It's pretty cool. So here, I'm just crunching because I don't think it's staying in. I think it's also quite likely that it has a Giga Drain to try and muscle T-Tar out in the one-on-one. And it Giga Drains and crunch, and down it goes to a crit, which, sure. I assume it lived, but, it didn't have lefties, and yeah, so even if it would have lived like the sand, but it wasn't going to heal off that sand, and then, also, I think I would have probably just sacked Celebi after that to make sure it went down. I mean, I would have preferred Celebi to be healthy, because looking at this team, if I Leech Seed all over this team, then my team is staying super healthy and threatening throughout. Also, really wishing I had Wish on the Meds, because if I wished a Yama over and over, that's just wonderful. Anyway, I'm going to Claydol here, I believe. Yes, I do. To threaten to spin. And if Skarm's going to come in and get lefties, then that's fine. And if he stays in HP Ices, then the spikes aren't going back up just yet. I thought about blowing up here, but I thought it's too premature. Because, if I take out Zapdos, fine, but I don't need Claydol to take out Zapdos. Zapdos is not a threat to my Agiligros plan. I don't need to take out Skarm just yet, either. And I don't want to thud into, a T-Tar or something. So that would be a waste. So I get the spin off, and now I'm gonna, now I'm really not doing well against Zapdos, because my Claydol does not have Rock Slide. Also, look how fast my Claydol is. It's faster than that bulky Zapdos. So, because this Claydol outspeeds offensive Suicunes and Heracrosses and stuff. So, yeah, it's jolly. And the Zapdos is presumably in the 244, 245-ish range for mixed T-Tars. And, stuff like various Jirachis and Suicunes that outspeed that kind of stuff. Although that's not really necessary, but it can. It has that option. So, now I don't want to blow up, so it looks like I'm probably going to have to sacrifice something to get this, to get it. I don't remember what move I made. It was a while ago. Okay, I go to Metagross, because there's no way he's going to T-Bolt here. He doesn't know I don't have Psychic, so he might think I'm just going to stay and try and slug it out with him. So I go to Metagross, and I think, the move is go to Metagross and then go to Celebi. Yep. And then tap the Zapdos into Psychic range. I was thinking about, do I want to Leech Seed it? But I was like, First of all, I was paranoid of missing. Second of all, which normally you shouldn't be, especially if you're behind, but I was also thinking, I don't know that whatever comes in is going to really benefit of the Leech Seed, because the plan here is I go to my, I Psychic it, and it's in Dragon Claw range for Salamence, and then Mence is a threat, because Blissey is in range of 2 Brick Breaks. So because the last two are going to be, well, I mean, there could be a Pursuit Tar or an Aerodactyl, but there's also going to be a physical wall, a Rock Resist, and there could also be a Jirachi in there, maybe even a Metagross, but I'm thinking generally T-Tar, T-Tar, Arrow, Jirachi, plus one of Swampert or Flygon. So, I mean, it's going to be really sad to have Celebi go here, but at least Mence is a threat, because he doesn't know I don't have Brick Break. He doesn't know I'm not Dragon Claw, Fire Blast, he doesn't know that I am Dragon Claw, Fire Blast, HP Grass, Toxic. Now, Wish over HP Grass, now that would be delicious. But, because Yama just goes absolutely crazy. So I tap it with a Psychic to knock it into Mence range, and that's fine. So all that jazz comes in, Dragon Claws, and this Mence is really bulky, because it is supposed to survive CB Metagross Meteor Mash plus Sand, as well as Dragon Claws from other Menses, because you can't be on the back foot against those from turn 1. So I thought it was very important to really bulk it out, and unfortunately that does come at the expense of some special attack. So Aerodactyl is a good interim check to mix Mence, once or twice, especially because it's going to be threatening big damage in return, especially against this battered team. I got a bunch of Rock Resists, but not the most, but not the sturdiest at this point in the game. But, the game's still looking very, very doable, because I'm more and more convinced, since I now see that that's an Aerodactyl, and the last has to be a Rock Resist, and the odds are getting higher and higher that it's that it's a Flygon instead of a Swampert, because that would give him 5 Spike immunities and a Blissey, which would be, a very good Superman team. And I'm not saying that it would be bad if it was 4 Spike immunities and Blissey and Swampert, but I'm saying that it feels a lot more likely that it is in fact a Pert, especially with how he was avoiding switching Flygon into or the physical wall into T-Tar earlier. I was thinking that pivoting around it with Zapdos thing, I mean, it's a good move in general, but with Swampert pivoting in like that, then it's a lot more forgivable, whereas with Flygon, then you're potentially dead a lot easier. So that was more of a small thing, but it is something to keep in mind. Like, yes, okay, it could still be Pert, but I think it's a lot likelier when with that whole Scarm pivoting thing, than because if you get Flygon in on Ice Beam, then that's goodbye. But if you have Swampert hit with an HP Grass, then with Protect and then switching out, then that's still doable. I mean, it's not a good scenario, and it's not something I'm basing the entire thing off, but it was a combination of these little things with, like, the refusal to show the physical wall into my Salamence or my like, even the fact that the Zapdos is HP Ice, like, that only feels like it makes a ton of sense if you're not as comfortable switching your physical wall into Mence because of Dragon Claw, or just not having the physical bulk to deal with it. So that HP Ice just felt like a lot more insurance to compensate for the physical wall's flaws. And so it's these little things. The HP Ice Zapdos, the not showing it early game because the consequences could be more disastrous, and the 4 other spike immunities, which make it a lot likelier that you're really just stacking up on them. So things like that. Yeah. So I also thought I was thinking maybe because if I switch Metagross into Zapdos like that, you probably think, hey, a Rock Slide might be coming my way, right? And that would probably be a good turn to check it out with Swampert, or if you're like, because if you're there's no way the Metagross is booming there, and you don't want to check it with Skarmory because it's weak. I don't know. It's more all these little things that in and of themselves don't necessarily mean it, but they all come together and they start really making you think, yeah, okay, I think that's a Flygon as opposed to a Pert. So, yeah, so here comes Arrow. I'm not risking Mence because Mence is really, really valuable here. And in comes T-Tar just to get sacrificed. And the fact that it is Arrow also means that, well, I mean, there's plenty of setup opportunity for Metagross to get an Agility, but it'll be super safe if Arrow locks into anything that isn't EQ. So I go to Mence as he doubles to Skarm. On the Skarm is very likely going to Protect there for lefties and to rack up burn damage, so I get Mence in for free. And now Mence is threatening again, because again, he does not know I don't have Brick Break. So he's going to either sag Zapdos or he's going to have to make a very risky Blissey move. Especially if his Skarmory is Drill Peck, which is very likely to not be completely blanked by things like Claydol and Forretress. It's generally more popular than Toxic. Although alongside Gengar to help with those things, then it's also possible. You got to keep it in mind. But since Protect is so riskless here, this would be the perfect moment to use Wish with Mence, and I really wish I had it. So, yeah. So Skarm is in and going to get more bulk, but I don't really mind because Bliss is going to come in, and then Hariyama comes in on Bliss and then knocks off Skarmory. And once Skarmory loses its lefties, then the Metagross endgame is looking better and better and better. So, oh, another reason I was thinking Flygon over Pert is because Micmer likes his counter-teamy stuff, or not even counter-teamy, they just counter-style, because this is like a regular team he's using. And I was thinking, if he's going counter-style, then he knows what's like the #1 thing that BKC likes. Well, BKC loves spikes. Okay, I'm bringing 5 spike immunities. That is another really strong consideration. Because why would I bring the spike weak Swampert when I could just use Flygon and stuff his spikes plus whatever offense combinations. So, yeah, that was another thing to keep in mind that was just gnawing at the back of my head and making me really, really confident. Yeah, I think that's a Flygon. So, especially with the HPA Zapdos and all that other stuff we went over before. So, just to help out with the Ments and the playing around and just to... Again, because if Flygon is an amazing physical wall, and I love it, but it is a lot less forgiving of a T-Tar coverage move than Swampert can be. Because Swampert can be hit by a T-Tar HP Grass and still, wind up being fine. Especially because, spoiler alert, Micmer's Blissey winds up being Wish. And if you got a Wish Blissey alongside Swampert, a favorite combination of mine, then that helps it out even more. You take hits all game with that. So if I Fire Blast just to not mess around. He doesn't even protect. So just to make sure that Blissey gets in. Well, it's not really a. The advantage there is, yeah, you don't get the extra turn of lefties, but it's not. It's a lot likelier that I don't reveal Brick Break on the protect. And it's more certain. It's not guaranteed, but it's more certain if you just want to not mess around and get Blissey in for free. So I go in for Fire Blast. If I had Wish there, I don't care if he stays in Protect or if he goes to Blissey. I'm sitting pretty either way. But that's fine because Yama comes in as he goes for Wish, so that spoiler quickly shows itself, and I knock off, and now I don't need Hariyama anymore. It's... the Scarm's not healing, and now it can't check Metagross at all. So, Brick Break. It can't even safely relay spikes on Claydol. That's absolutely huge. God, I love Hariyama. It's so good. So now I go to Ments again after taking Brick Breaks, and I take a little Drill Peck, which is fine. And now I double to Claydol. I was expecting the Blissey to come in. I guess he was just trying to spin and reset on it. That or either Blissey comes in or Claydol gets some lefties on a Protect trying to scout it, or something. But either way, and I was giving some consideration to whether that was the move or not. But I spin, spikes, pressure ameliorated, and now I'm like, okay, well I don't want to boom because that could very easily get wasted. I mean, at this point, Skarmory is really, really chipped. So it's kind of fine either way. I just need to get Metagross in and not collapse against the Flygon, and it's looking good. So Mens comes in again, and he doubles to Arrow there, trying to catch. Well, I think he was catching the Mens double, so that was a nice move on his end. I was not expecting that, because also it's very unlikely I boom there and just randomly get protected. I guess I could have boomed there knowing that it's unlikely that he just gives me a free KO with Zapdos. Like if I just stay and go for Psychic or something. Maybe he was going to Arrow on Psychic and to threaten me out with a double edge or HP Bug or something. And because Psychic is weak from Claydol. And he wouldn't want to just sack Zapdos to a Psychic and then give me a free boom after. So I could have taken out Skarm or Arrow with that boom. Because it's very unlikely that he just protects without lefties even and gives me a free switch to Ments. So I could have boomed there, but again, I didn't feel like it was necessary to rush it. Because that's the idea of this team. It has offense, but it also has longevity with the Wish and the Leech Seed. If I had Wish on it. Yeah, so I'm not going to sacrifice that. And he makes a great move, goes to Zapdos, and... on my T-Tar sack rather than lock into a move, so that was really nice. And I was thinking about going to Claydol here, but he can HP Ice because T-Tar's in range for it, so I figured no need. So now I go back to Ments, and now Blissey does not really does not want to switch into for fear of Brick Break. He doesn't know I don't have it though, but I think he goes right to Blissey, and I Dragon Claw and crit. So now he's definitely in range of Brick Break. He could have been without the crit, but now with it he definitely is, because there are mixed menses with a lot of attack investment, specifically for this situation where Blissey tries to stave it off just barely. So if you put the Blissey up to like 56%, then yeah, it could have been in Brick Break range. But now I'm thinking he does not know I don't have Brick Break, and he doesn't necessarily want to. See, here's the idea. Best case, I get a free KO here as he tries to pivot around the Brick Break. Worst case, he soft boils and it's not really that much different. Because I mean, this Blissey being Wish is amazing because it can't even threaten my Metagross with Thunder Wave. Absolutely huge. So I decide he's not going for Ice Beam here. That would, because if he Ice Beams and I switch out, which is very likely, then he's if he Ice Beams and I switch out, then he's just like, he's complete toast. And he's just completely behind, so it's either soft-boiled or pivot. And I think the odds of him pivoting are quite high because he doesn't know I don't have Brick Break. And, yeah, and if it doesn't work out, then I'm just going for the Metagross win anyway. So, in comes Arrow on the Dragon Claw, and this Dragon Claw rolls high enough to KO it. So, there we go. And if I did have Brick Break, then, and he went to Blissey here, then that would have been, you know, ball game. But I do not. So instead I go to Copenhagen Cowboy, and he does go for Ice Beam. Just hoping, I don't know, because if I do have Brick Break, I don't know, I guess he was willing to sacrifice Blissey to make sure Mence went down. But now here comes this thing, and it's going to Meteor Mash, and either Zapdos dies, or then Scarm comes in, and yeah, it's basically going to be Flygon trying to muscle its way through Metagross, and Metagross gets lefties back, which is huge. So, because longevity is the name of the game, even on offense, because advanced offense needs longevity. Otherwise, and the offensive teams without longevity, they have their own problems, but that's a different video. In comes Zap, and I decide, do I Rock Slide or no? I Agility first. Okay, yeah, because I thought he was just going to T-Bolt me and you know, put me closer to Flygon EQ range. So I was like, okay, if he's going to do that, then I'm going to Agility and then I'm going to Mash, because that might give me an attack boost. And if he sags Zapdos, he's going to sag Zapdos either way. But at least this way, I might have the attack boost, and I might hit Flygon on the switch if he pivots to it. And oh, that's another thing. If I Agility and then take the Zapdos out, then I get an extra turn of lefties, and that's really big. So it's a combination of all those factors, but in general, the extra turn of lefties is significant. So I Agility, and I'm thinking, if he rested, I don't think he thinks I'm Rock Slide. He must think I'm Explosion, he's just going to try and force me to Boom. You know, unless I try to go fishing for Mash Boost first. But no, I Rock Slide right away, because I'm thinking, okay, yeah, he's gonna stay, he thinks he walls me. But I do not, so the Scarm Sack was because he thought, okay, he's gonna wall me. Or at least he had to hope that he walled me, because if the last is Flygon, then it's not going to be super confident anyway. So now Rock Slide really big, because now Blissey's on its last legs against Mence even without Brick Break, and Zapdos is really low, so yeah, really good. Flygon comes in, I Meteor Mash on the switch, and that does a ton of damage, and this looks like a sweep if I hit two more, obviously, or if I just crit one. Protect, and it goes to the left, and I want to scream. So, what I should have done here is go to, well, maybe not necessarily, but I go to Mence here, and I think, I don't know why I didn't just, Dragon Claw. I think I should have done that. I think I wanted to Intimidate it and get lefties on Metagross, because my win path still is, Metagross being healthy enough to muscle through this Flygon and take its hits and all that. So I was calcing EQs, but it wasn't very elegant, and I think I could have stayed in and mashed here again. No, because the pivot back to Mence, this next one was just was a little foolish. And or I could have gone to Claydol if I wanted to switch out, but I go back to Mence, and I get Toxic, and that was also not my finest. But it's still, the thing is, it's still fine, because even though that Toxic isn't good, I still get to go back to Metagross here for even more lefties on another Protect. And Flygon's healed all the way back up, but now he's at -2, and Earthquake isn't going to 2-hit KO me. And I'm going to Meteor Mash and chunk him again, and I can stay. And this time I get the attack boost, so that's very helpful. And I was thinking about agilitying and taking and then winning, but I didn't want to risk at him like EQing on agility and then protecting and then sacking out of range, and then I decided, look, I can do this whole dance again, and I'm just going to Meteor Mash, and he doesn't sack Zapdos, he sacks Blissey, and I get another attack boost, which I can't use because I get forced out now, but now Salamence is really threatening, and I am playing this in a rushed manner, because I was trying to compensate for my previous week, in which I was so not used to the timer after such a long way away that I came close to timing out a couple times, and so this time I went too far in the opposite direction. So I go to Salamence, and when I should have gone to Claydol, because now without Blissey around, then Salamence is the big threat. You know, I could have done it before, but now it especially applies. And I take a Rock Slide, thanks to the bulk and Intimidate, but really, there's a ton of bulk on this thing, because it, again, lives CB Gross Mash. I forget if it lives CB Gross Mash in Sand or just CB Gross Mash. Now that I think about it, I think it is just CB Gross Mash, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, but I'm not going to stay in. It's all about getting that pivoting, and with Claydol here, I decide I'm just going to I'm going to boom on it eventually, but there's no rush to do it. So I'm going to just HP Bug first, because if he stays in Intoxic, then at least I've chunked it a little bit. So I want to force it Protect, and if he doesn't Protect, then I'm chipping him with HP Bug, so it's a win-win. He has to either risk a double Protect, and you know, even if he does get the double Protect, then I go to Mence, and then, you know, stuff is starting to drop, and then I'll be able to Intimidate Pivot, especially with Hariyama helping me out. So even in the worst case of him getting the double Protect and blowing up, then I will be able to dance around it with Mence getting the KO with Dragon Claw afterwards. But yeah, I definitely should have gone right to Claydol instead of Mence first on that Rock Slide. I was getting a little one-tracked with the Intimidate plan from earlier. So, but now at HP Bug again, he doesn't Protect, he goes right to Zapdos. I'm like, okay, well, I'll just blow that up. Yeah, so that gets blown up, and now it's 3-on-1, and now I was calcing like -1 and -2 EQs against Flygon and stuff, but yeah, I go to Mence, and I think I should have just, I got really paranoid about this somehow having enough Spadef to live Dragon Claw or something ridiculous, so I go to, I know he's going to Protect here, obviously, so I go to Hariyama, and I knock it off, and, because I live -1 EQ, that was the plan. -1, and now knock off its lefties, and now it has to, like, quadruple Protect. I guess, since this was the plan, I should have gone right to Metagross, and mashed it to really make sure it was in range of Dragon Claw, but it doesn't matter, because there's no way it's living Dragon Claw from 77, so he has to quadruple Protect or something, I think. Yeah, it's to live Dragon Claw. So that was not the cleanest way I could have done this at all, but overall I was just happy to have come back after the bad turn 1. So it gets the double, but as you can see here, then I still get another. So he does need a quadruple. He doesn't even get the triple. So yeah, that was a good game. I liked the team, and wish I had kept Wish on my own. But yeah, that's what you get when you make last-minute changes. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.